Hi everybody, so this is a small update on my ENC bins. So these are my two bins that I have set up for European night crawler swarms. So I'm just gonna bring this over to show you. So this is actually my second ENC bin. So I basically started with half a pound in this other bin, and I noticed something pretty weird. So I just took maybe 10 or 15 worms and I started a new bin. So we're gonna check the population in this bin first, and then I'm gonna show you the problem I have with the other bin. So I have some clippings. Okay, so I fed some squash and pumpkin, so there are some worms. It's been maybe a month or two since I took away the worms from the other bin. So this is a nice piece of squash they are eating. And you can see there are some worms. I started this bin maybe 2 months ago with 15 worms, something like that. And now you can see there's some worms. It looks good. Humidity is good. I can see some cocoons. There are a few pill bugs here and there. There are some big worms. So maybe there's 100, 200 worms in this bin now. And now I'm looking to expand because this bin is going pretty well. So this is the same bedding as I used in my large CFT bin. So this is some gloom. That's pretty much it for this bin. So I'm gonna rip up all of this paper and then we're gonna check the other bin. Alright, so while I'm at it, I'm gonna show you how I prepare my paper bedding. So a lot of people are buying these paper shredders to make their bedding, but I'm the kind of guy that's pretty cheap in life, and I think that the whole point of composting is to limit the amount of waste we're sending out to the landfills. And buying a paper shredder, it will eventually end up in the landfill. So what I do, I just take my documents, which I had used for university, and I just rip them apart like this. Okay, and I just do some strips like this, and the worms, they'll work the paper down, and eventually you won't see the difference between the paper shredder stuff and my bedding. It might be a bit slower to decompose, but it's free, so this is how I like it. So I just shred it like this, and you're gonna see when I have a big pile, I can just fluff this stuff up like this, and then I just take the paper, throw it around, and it fluffs up. And like this, I have a nice layer of bedding, and now I still have some more paper. So it's pretty nice. I do this with cardboard, and one thing that helps is to have it a bit wet, so it's easier to rip. So yeah, I'm gonna finish that, and then we're gonna check the other bin. Okay, so now I shredded all of my paper. I fluffed it up a bit, and now I'm left with maybe 6 inches of more bedding, and I'm gonna wet it down real good and then I'm gonna let the worms do the rest. So normally the paper has a grain, so you just need to tear it up with the grain, and it will work with newspaper normally. That's just how I do it. I don't want to spend $200 on a paper shredder that in 10 years it will end up in the landfill. So this only took maybe 3 minutes. Okay, so this is the second bin. It's the first bin that I set up with some ENCs. Okay, so basically what I wanted to do is to have a more natural bin. Okay, so I used some semi-finished compost from my garden composter, and then I added some leaves, a bunch of leaves. Okay, so what happened in the beginning, this bin got pretty wet in the bottom especially. Okay, so I started to notice some dead worms, but I'm not sure it was the wetness of the bin. I didn't feed for maybe a month, and the worms just continued to die. And right now, the leaves are almost completely gone. Okay, but the worms are still dying. Like yesterday I pulled out a worm that was dead on the surface, and they all have the same symptoms, and it looks kind of like the string of pearls. But there's not too much food in this bin. I fed maybe 3 weeks ago once, so I'm not sure what's going on. And you can see there's almost no worms, and all of the worms that are left are very young. Okay, what I noticed too, you can see there's no worms. The population just went down, so I'm glad I took some worms and started another bin. But you can see that there's a one worm. It's pretty excited, I don't know why. It has nice color. It doesn't seem to be experiencing much trouble. There's just no worms. I might check on the other side. I think there's the squash on the other side. So I basically fed the same thing as the other bin, just to make sure it was not the food. So yeah, there's a few worms here and there, but not many. But I still find it weird that all of the leaves were gone so fast. I added some leaves maybe 2 months ago, and they are all gone pretty much. So yeah, this is the second bin. I think I'm just gonna end this bin there. What I suspect might have happened, I saw some centipedes in this bin, so that might be the cause. But so far I just remove them every time, and I don't see them anymore. Another possible thing is maybe my compost from my garden bin. from my garden composter. Maybe it was too rich. I'm not sure. I took a handful of this and soaked it in some water to make a sludge. I tested the electrical conductivity to check for dissolved salts, and it was pretty high. So maybe it's just that my compost is too rich. There's plenty of eggshells in this stuff, so I don't think the pH is wrong. But yeah, I'm just gonna end this bin. There's no point in continuing it. It's some nice stuff. So I'm just gonna let it age over the winter. If I see some worms in it, then I'll just migrate the worms out. And if there's no more worms, then I just use it as is. So yeah, that was my system update for ENCs.